I'd definitely be happy and recommend going ahead with anybody that's contemplating, provided you have the ground suitable. I have to say that you need to have dry ground. Fertility has to be right on it, and we fed it to weanlings last year. We got great weight gain on it. Our meal bill was cut back significantly with the help of the red clover.
Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this week's episode I'm joined by future beef farmer Michael Biggins from Co Mayo to discuss his suckler beef system, weanling management on the farm and upcoming farm walk. Michael, you're very welcome. Can you give an overview of your system?
We farm in near Glencorrib, Co Mayo. We farm, Niall and myself, my son Niall and myself farm in a company, and we farm 45 hectares of mixed land. It's mostly limestone with some Moray type land as well. We run a spring calving suckler herd, approximately 70 cows plus or minus, depending on how the year goes. And we run as tight a calving system as possible. We kind of calve from mid-February to maybe the first week in April. So we try and keep it as tight as possible in order to get... And our plan usually is to get cows out as quickly as possible, which doesn't happen every year. This year was absolutely a dream, because we were able to get cows out as soon as they calved, and I think it has reflected actually, as we'll talk about later, on our performance and as regards getting cows back in calf and that. But that's basically our system. We sell about 50-60% of the weanlings at the back end, and we sell whatever we aren't told for breeding. We sell them then the following spring or maybe into the early summer.
And based on the spring this year, as you mentioned, cows were in good condition going to the bull, and you're also using some AI on the farm as well. How did breeding go for you?
Breeding went very well this year, Catherine. We synchronised 42 cows initially, and 29 of those held to the first service, and a further 8 held to a repeat. And the bull covered up. There were only a couple left for the bull, so that was that section. And we have a stock bull as well, and we ran him as I said, they went out. We started breeding on the 1st of May, and we finish up at the end of June, for maybe first week in July. And we scanned only last Saturday, and as I said, out of the 67 cows, there were 65 in calf, and as I said, the cows went well. The heifers were a different story. We were disappointed with the heifers. We got I think 7 out of 11 in calf, so wouldn't be too happy with that, but that's the look of the draw, I suppose.
And what was your experience of using the synchronisation programme on the cows this year? Like the whole process of the labour part actually carried it out, I suppose, and then the fact so many did hold in calf.
Last year was the first year we used it, and we used sect semen, which we got 50% in calf, which was okay. But I think taking the costs on that, we decided this year to go with just conventional semen, and we're much happier as regards the strike rate. We actually did another 8 late calvers, and out of those 8, we got 6 of them held to one service as well. So we'd be very happy with the synchronisation program. And as I said, we I think we'd be going the conventional route rather than the sex semen route. It's expensive for the percentage, for the strike rate, for the percentage, but it was well worth doing, because we have a nice bunch of heifers heifers on the ground this year that we hope to breed in 26, and going forward we'll probably be using, as regards the bulls, we're using AI. We're looking for ones with strong maternal traits, so that any heifers we have there, we get out of them, that there will be potential cows to keep in the herd for the future.
And for the heifers, the fact you had so many and you're breeding your own replacement heifers, what are kind of the key targets that you're looking for those to achieve in order to be calving down at 24 months?
we were trying to breeding our replacements from our heifers, because we were using 2 terminal bulls on the farm, and we were getting snookered because our heifers weren't coming in. Trying to get heifers off heifers, you don't tend to get the weight gain on that, so that they're maybe going a bit light. So our plan is to breed to AI our best breeding cows. Particularly as regards what we'd be looking for, and as regards breeding replacements off, is ease of calving and milk. We can see from the cows we have, the particularly strong milking cows, their calves usually, that they move on ahead. You pick them out in the herd right away. That cow has plenty of milk, So before you introduce them, the creep ration or anything like that, when you see your good calves on the field, they're usually off milky cows, and I think it's something that we'll be paying particular attention to going forward.
And how are this year's calves performing at the moment?
Yeah, we're very happy with them. We weigh them in June. There, the bulls were doing 1.15 kilos, and the heifers were doing just over a kilo. I would imagine that they've pushed on from that since, because we had just introduced creep before we weaned them. Before we started creep feeding them, and since then we have pushed the creep more on the bulls. Now we separated the bulls and heifers at that stage, and because we don't want the heifers going too fat, because we'd be hoping to, so we're pushing on the bulls for the year that's in it. We're pushing up, I'd say, 2.5 to 3 kilos at this stage on the bulls, and. So we'd be very happy with the way the weanlings are doing at the moment.
And how did you go about weaning them?
We don't start weaning, Catherine, until mid September. So we won't have them weaned by the time come the farm walk. But our method last year was what we've been doing for a number of years is we use a creep gate, and we just lock the calves, just close the creep gate. And don't let them back into the cows for 24 hours. And then after a couple of times doing that, and we just close the gate entirely, and there's very little hassle. Last year we used paddles as well. Now, we actually found the paddles very good as well. I think we weaned about 30 last year that way. Just put the paddles on the calves, and there wasn't a meg out of the calves, I'd have to say. And the cows that were ordering, they wanted to be milked, but the calves were taking no notice. It was really stress-free as well. So we'll probably do the same thing this year. It's just the way the paddocks are done out, and where we have creep gates. Wouldn't have a creep gate, when we separate them out in different lots at a time. So we'll probably go the same route this year, some with paddles and using the creep gate for the rest of them.
Michael, how are you managing grass on the farm currently?
Well, with difficulty, because there's so much of it. We've taken we took some paddocks out there in the end of July, and that we had gone with a bag of 18612. We're low on P in the farm, so for last year and this year we've been, instead of going with straight nitrogen, we've gone with 18612. And we'll probably be going. We'll go again now, probably next week, with a bag of 18612 again on the drier parts of the farm. We would, as I said, we have some Murray type ground down by the river, and we tend to we wouldn't put any more fertilizer down there, because it gets wet down there, and we just wouldn't get the value out of it. So we'd probably go with a bag on all the grazing grounds in the next week to bolster grass for the back end, and we would have reasonably good dry ground, so we try and keep the cows out as long as possible. We're trying to let them out as early as possible in springtime, which doesn't work out, as everybody knows. It doesn't with the best laid plans. But in the harvest time as well, we try and keep them out as long as possible, to have as short a winter as possible, which can be difficult and challenging in the west of Ireland at times because of the rainfall. But no, we by targeting the fields that will be dry at the back end, it works to a good extent anyway.
And I suppose your thoughts are probably moving to building covers for the autumn to keep the grass extended as long as possible. What's your targets on the farm for building covers now as we come into September, and your plan for your closing rotation on the farm?
Well, like that now, again, there'll be some sections of the farm that we would be aiming for. We know we get late grazing out of it, but then like that again, you have to keep an eye on what paddocks you'll be using first thing in springtime. So you'll be trying to build a cover there. So we'll be grazing that and looking at maybe closing that off. And it's usually the paddocks near the house that we'd be trying to closing off, because that's where you'd be letting your cows and calves out in springtime, because you have to have make provision for having to maybe take them back in again if depending on the weather. So that we were trying to build a cover over that we carry over the winter with the paddocks near the house, or near the sheds. So that's kind of the plan.
Most definitely. And last year was your first year to sow red clover. How have you found it on the farm and managing it?
It's been a positive experience to be sure. We've so far this year, there's just over four acres that we harvest, and there's almost 80 bales of red clover from that this year, which is excellent. We used it we feed it to the weanlings that we carry for the winter. The way it's looking, we'll probably get another cut in early September, mid September, and we'd see how it goes. We actually grazed it last year with weanlings, and it was successful. So not to have too dense a cover for going into the winter, to let the light in. We've as regards fertilizer on it, we've just used slurry after each cut. So we actually got the last of the slurry out there. We cut the third cut just to the end of July, very last day of July, and we put 2,000 gallons of slurry on it again to the acre. And so it is working well, and we'd be very happy with it.
And when do you plan to harvest the next crop?
We're hoping for mid-September, and to clean it off. It is, it's a crop that you have to take your time at and study it a bit, because we have to, as regards cutting and everything like that. It's different to going in and cutting ryegrass, but I'd have to say the whole experience has been very positive, and we'd be looking at maybe sowing another maybe 5 acres of it next spring to take over from this the following year. So that I definitely be happy and recommend going ahead with anybody that's contemplating, provided you have the ground suitable. I have to say you need to have dry ground. Fertility has to be right on it, and it's definitely one to look at. It cuts back. We fed it to weanlings last year. We got great weight gain on it. Now you will have, the weanlings were loose for a start to get accustomed to it and that, but our meal bill was cut back significantly for the weanlings we carried last winter, because with the help of the red clover.
And I suppose, given the current market prices at the moment, what's your targets for the weanlings now at the moment? Targeting them for sale. What's your plan? What ideally would you like to see weight gains?
I wish I had a crystal ball now, because I think we're all the same way. We're kind of in awe of these prices. People have been used to it, but actually weanling producers haven't actually experienced it yet as such. I mean, prices were okay last back in, but they've taken off entirely with the last few months. Our plan would be we probably keep, again, probably for between 40% and 50% over the winter. We'll probably carry that amount for the spring, and we have nearly 2-to-1 bulls on the farm this year compared to last year's bulls versus heifers. So we'd be pushing maybe 30 plus bulls to be going before the winter, and maybe keeping the lighter bulls and the heifers for the winter.
And ideally, what weight would you expect them to be at sale?
He'd be hoping, up around the 350, 360, depending on. And it's I have repeat customers for bulls the last few years. I have one man that has bought bulls of me for the last 6 years. Now I don't know where he stands at the moment with the way prices are. So it's a different year to other years, I'd have to say. With the way the exporters are, and as keen as the exports are for stock. So it would be, it's a challenge to know what route to go. But if you have a good customer as well, you have to make sure you look after them as well. That they're repeat customers.
Most definitely, and the fact that you're maximising weight for gain on the farm for every day that animal is on the farm from now till sale, they're going to get the most use of the meal that's been supplemented at the moment. All
the way, yeah. That's the idea of it. And what I said, we will when we wean in probably mid-September, we'll find that the wean is nearly take off better at that stage. But like you were saying, should you go earlier? But like the cow the cow keeps a good flush on the calf as well, like as regards milk. So I don't like weaning too early either. So.
Michael, you're hosting the National Future Beef Farm Walk on Wednesday, September the 3rd at 6 p.m. What can listeners expect to see on the day?
Well, I suppose just the management of the herd here in Ballynalty, and what we what our plans are for the winter. They'll see as regards, in particularly we actually have a river going through the farm as well, and how we manage that. And so there'll be plenty of people experts on hand to answer some questions as well. And we look forward to people coming to Mayo on the evening, and hopefully we'll have a glorious day like we have today.
Sounds like a great evening, and the very best of luck on the night. I'll include the further details on the event in the podcast text. Thanks, Michael.
All right, Catherine. Okay.
That's all for this week's episode, and thanks to Michael for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews for the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.